Dr. Minjun Park sat in a small office at Seoul National University, staring at the email on his computer screen. He had read it 3 times already, but he still could not believe what it said. TechCore Industries, one of the biggest technology companies in the world, wanted him to come to their headquarters. They wanted him to be part of something they called the most important experiment in human history. Minjun was a cognitive neuroscientist. He studied how the human brain works, how people think and learn and remember things. He had spent 15 years doing research, writing papers, and teaching students. He was good at his job, but he was not famous. He was just a regular professor doing regular work. So why would a massive company like TechCore want him? The email explained everything. TechCore had built a new artificial intelligence system called QuantumMind. This was not like the AI systems that people used every day. This was something completely different. QuantumMind could think faster than any computer ever made. It could process millions of pieces of information in seconds. It could solve problems that would take humans years to figure out. And now, TechCore wanted to test this AI against a human brain. They wanted Minjun to be that human. Minjun leaned back in his chair and looked out the window. Rain was falling on the university campus. Students were running between buildings, holding bags over their heads to stay dry. Everything looked so normal, so ordinary, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. His phone rang. It was his colleague and friend, Dr. Sayon Kim. She worked in the office next to his, and they had known each other for 10 years. "Did you get the email?" she asked immediately. "Yes," Minjun said. "I just read it." "Are you going to do it?" Minjun was quiet for a moment. "I don't know," he said honestly. "It sounds impossible. How can a human brain compete with a supercomputer? Everyone will watch me lose." Suayan made a sound that was half laugh, half sigh. "Maybe that's exactly why you should do it," she said. "Someone needs to represent us. Someone needs to show what human thinking can do. Or show what it can't do," Minjun said quietly. After the phone call ended, Minjun sat alone with his thoughts. He thought about all the research he had done on human cognition. He thought about the amazing things that a human brain could do, even though it was small and slow compared to computers. The brain used less power than a light bulb, but it could understand poetry, feel emotions, create art, and love other people. Could a machine do those things? Even if it was 1,000,000 times faster. He made his decision. He typed a reply to the email. "I accept your invitation." 3 days later, Minjun walked into the TechCore Industries headquarters in downtown Seoul. The building was enormous, all glass and steel, reaching into the sky like a mountain of mirrors. Inside, everything was clean and modern. The floors were so polished he could see his reflection. Young employees walked quickly through the hallways, carrying tablets and talking about code and algorithms. A woman in a business suit greeted him in the lobby. "Dr. Park, welcome. I'm Jennifer Walsh, CEO of TechCore. Thank you so much for coming." Jennifer Walsh was American, probably in her mid-40s, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. She shook Minjun's hand firmly and led him to an elevator. They went up to the 20th floor where the research laboratories were located. "I'll be honest with you, Dr. Park," Jennifer said as they rode the elevator. "We built QuantumMind to be the smartest intelligence on Earth. We've tested it against our best engineers, our top scientists, even against other AI systems. It wins every time. We want to show the world what this technology can do." "So, you want me to lose publicly?" Minjun asked. He tried to keep his voice neutral, but a little bit of frustration came through. Jennifer looked at him seriously. "We want a fair competition. You were chosen because you're one of the best cognitive researchers in the world. Your papers on human problem solving are brilliant. If anyone can represent human intelligence, it's you." The elevator doors opened and they stepped into a large laboratory. The room was filled with computer equipment, screens showing streams of data, and technicians working at various stations. But in the center of the room was something that took Minjun's breath away. It was a massive cube, about 3 meters on each side, made of some kind of black material that seemed to absorb light. Cables ran from it in every direction, connecting it to cooling systems and power supplies. Blue lights pulsed slowly across its surface like a heartbeat. This is quantum mind, Jennifer said with obvious pride in her voice. Minjun walked closer to the cube. He could feel heat coming from it, and he could hear a low humming sound, like the machine was breathing. It's running right now, he asked. It's always running, one of the technicians said. Even at rest, it's processing about 10 million calculations per second. When we activate full speed mode, that number goes up 2 levels we can barely measure. Jennifer led Minjun to a conference room attached to the laboratory. Inside, there were about 20 people waiting, including scientists, engineers, and media representatives. Cameras were set up in the corners of the room. This was going to be broadcast to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer announced, thank you for being here. Today, we begin an experiment that will change how we think about intelligence. For 7 days. We will conduct 7 different challenges. Dr. Minjun Park will represent human cognitive ability. Quantum Mind will represent artificial intelligence. Each challenge will test different aspects of thinking: pattern recognition, memory, logic, creativity, and problem solving. One of the journalists raised her hand. Ms. Walsh, isn't this competition unfair? A computer can obviously process information faster than a human, Jennifer smiled. That's exactly what we want to find out. Is thinking just about speed? Or is there something special about human intelligence that can't be measured in calculations per second? That's the real question. Another journalist spoke up. Dr. Park, aren't you worried about losing? This could be embarrassing for humanity. Minjun had been quiet, but now everyone looked at him. He stood up slowly and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the city of Seoul stretching in every direction. Millions of people living their lives, thinking their thoughts, making their choices. I'm not here to prove humans are better than machines, Minjun said carefully. I'm here because I believe human thinking is different from machine thinking. Maybe we'll lose every challenge. Maybe quantum mind is faster and more accurate at everything. But I want to understand why we think the way we do and what that means for our future. The room was silent for a moment. Then Jennifer nodded approvingly. Well said, Doctor. Let's begin. They returned to the laboratory. The technicians explained the first challenge. Both Minjun and Quantum Mind would be given 10,000 photographs. The photographs showed various objects, animals, people, and scenes. The task was simple. Sort them into categories as quickly and accurately as possible. Minjun sat at a computer terminal. His hands felt sweaty. Cameras pointed at him from 3 different angles. Millions of people would watch this video. He took a deep breath and tried to calm his racing heart. Is everyone ready? Jennifer asked. Dr. Park. Quantum Mind? The black cube pulsed with blue light, as if answering. Minjun nodded. Begin, Jennifer said. The photographs started appearing on Minjun's screen. He clicked as fast as he could, sorting images into folders. Dog, car, beach, mountain, person, building. His brain worked as quickly as possible, identifying patterns and making decisions. But even as he worked, he could hear the technicians gasping behind him. It's already done, someone whispered. Minjun stopped clicking and looked up. The screen showing Quantum Mind's progress displayed a simple message. Task completed. Time, 3.7 seconds. Accuracy, 100%. Minjun looked at his own screen. He had sorted maybe 200 images out of 10,000. He still had so far to go, but he kept working anyway. He clicked and sorted, even though he knew he had already lost. It took him 42 minutes to finish. When he checked his accuracy, he found that he had made 17 mistakes out of 10,000 images. Not bad for a human, but nothing compared to the AI. The journalists were already typing on their phones, sending out headlines. The technicians looked uncomfortable, as if they felt sorry for him. S.E. Oyen, watching from the observation room above, put her hand against the glass. Only Jennifer Walsh looked thoughtful, as if she was trying to figure out a puzzle. Minjun stood up from the computer. When is the next challenge? He asked quietly. Tomorrow morning, Jennifer said. Dr. Park, you did well! I lost, Minjun said simply. Let's not pretend otherwise. I'll see you tomorrow. He walked out of the laboratory with his head up, even though inside, he was already wondering if he had made a terrible mistake by accepting this impossible challenge. Minjun woke up early the next morning. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those photographs flashing across his screen, and he heard that quiet voice saying 3.7 seconds. His defeat had been so complete, so absolute, that it felt unreal. He checked his phone and immediately wished he had not. The internet was full of news about yesterday's challenge. The headlines were brutal. Human brain no match for AI. Scientists crushed in first round. Is this the end of human intelligence supremacy? Some people defended him in the comments, saying the competition was unfair. But many others said this proved that humans were becoming obsolete, that machines were the future, and that people needed to accept their limitations. Minjun put his phone away and got dressed. He would not read any more today? When he arrived at TechCore, Seo-yeon was waiting for him in the lobby. She had brought coffee and a sandwich. You need to eat, she said. You look terrible. I feel terrible, Minjun admitted. He took the coffee gratefully. Thank you for coming. Of course I came, Seo-yeon said. You're my friend. Besides, I want to see what happens today. She looked at him carefully. Are you okay? Really? Minjun thought about that question. Was he okay? He had been humiliated in front of the world. He had lost so badly that it was almost funny. But strangely, he did not want to quit. Something about yesterday's challenge bothered him, something he could not quite explain. I'm okay, he said finally. I want to keep going. They went up to the laboratory together. The same crowd was there. Cameras and journalists and technicians. Jennifer Walsh greeted them professionally. The black cube of quantum mind pulsed with its strange blue light, as if it was eager to begin. Today's challenge tests mathematical reasoning and proof. Jennifer announced, both competitors will receive a series of complex mathematical problems. Some require solving equations, others require proving theorems, and some involve advanced calculus and number theory. This is pure logic and computation. Minjun felt his stomach sink. Mathematics was exactly where computers excelled. This would be another massacre. Let's begin, Jennifer said. The first problem appeared on Minchun's screen. It was a complicated equation with multiple variables. He started working through it, writing notes on paper beside his keyboard. He could do this kind of mathematics, but it took time and concentration. He had to check each step carefully to avoid errors. Behind him, he heard the technicians react. 45 seconds, someone said. Quantum Mind has completed all 20 problems. All 20. Minjun had barely finished the first one. He kept working anyway, pushing through problem after problem. Some he solved correctly, others gave him trouble. His brain felt tired, and he made mistakes that he had to go back and fix. The whole process took him almost 3 hours. When he finally submitted his answers, the results were displayed for everyone to see. Quantum Mind had solved all 20 problems correctly in 47 seconds. Minjun had solved 11 correctly and made mistakes on the other 9. The journalists looked almost bored now. This was not even a competition anymore. It was just a demonstration of how much better machines were than humans at certain tasks. But Minjun was paying attention to something else. He walked over to the screen, showing Quantum Mind's solutions. He studied them carefully, reading through each proof and calculation. They were perfect, absolutely flawless. Every step was logical. Every conclusion was correct. The AI had not wasted a single operation or used any unnecessary steps. It was pure, efficient, mathematical beauty. Impressive! Minjun said quietly. One of the technicians standing nearby nodded. Quantum Mind optimizes every calculation. It finds the most efficient path to every solution. That's what makes it so fast. Minjun nodded slowly, still looking at the screen. Something was forming in his mind, some idea that he could not quite grasp yet. But it was there, like a shape moving through fog. The next day brought Challenge 3! Testing memory recall. Both Minjun and QuantumMind were shown 1,000 pieces of information, including numbers, names, dates, images, and facts. After studying this information for a set period of time, they would be tested on how much they could remember. This challenge went exactly as expected. QuantumMind had perfect recall of all 1,000 items. Minjun remembered about 300 items accurately, forgot many others, and mixed up several details. His human memory was good compared to other people, but compared to a computer's perfect storage system, it was like comparing a leaky bucket to a sealed vault. Challenge for tested language translation. Both competitors received texts in 10 different languages and had to translate them into English. QuantumMind completed all translations instantly with perfect accuracy. Minjun could only translate the 3 languages he actually knew, and even those translations took time and contained small errors. By the end of day 4, the media had lost interest in the competition. The outcome was obvious. Some journalists stopped coming to the laboratory. The ones who still showed up looked like they were only there out of obligation. The headlines changed from excited announcements to bored statements of fact. AI wins again! Human loses 4th straight challenge! When will this pointless competition end? But something strange was happening that nobody noticed except Koya. Minjun was not discouraged. After each defeat, he spent hours studying QuantumMind's responses. He took notes in a small notebook he carried everywhere. He asked the technicians questions about how the AI processed information. He wanted to understand every detail of how the machine thought. On the evening of the 4th day, Seoyeon found Minjun in the observation room, long after everyone else had gone home. He was staring at the black cube through the glass, writing in his notebook. "What are you doing?" she asked. Minjun looked up, surprised. "Oh, I did not hear you come in." He gestured at his notebook. "I'm trying to understand how QuantumMind thinks." "It doesn't think," Seoyeon said. "It calculates. It processes. That's different from thinking?" "Is it?" Minjun asked. "I'm not sure anymore, but I've noticed something interesting. QuantumMind is perfect at finding optimal solutions. It always chooses the most efficient path, the fastest calculation, the most accurate answer. It never makes mistakes because it never deviates from pure logic. That's exactly what makes it better than us," Seoyeon said. "Maybe," Minjun said thoughtfully. "Or maybe that's its limitation." Sa-young sat down next to him. "What do you mean?" Minjun flipped through his notebook, showing her pages of observations and diagrams. "Perfection follows patterns. If you always choose the optimal solution, you're predictable. You're efficient, yes, but you're also constrained by logic. You can't do anything illogical, even if the illogical choice might lead somewhere interesting. You're planning something," Seoyeon said, a smile forming on her face. "I'm trying to," Minjun admitted. The next 3 challenges are different from the first 4. They test problem solving, creativity, and judgment. Those are areas where pure computation might not be enough. "At least, I hope so." Koyeon looked at her friend with new respect. Everyone thought Minjun was just enduring this humiliation, suffering through an unwinnable competition. But he was actually studying his opponent, looking for weaknesses, preparing for the challenges ahead. "You know, you'll probably still lose, right?" she said gently. "Probably," Minjun agreed. "But maybe I can lose in an interesting way. Maybe I can show that human thinking has value, even when it's slower and makes more mistakes." That night, news started spreading on social media. Not from the official competition coverage, but from people who are tired of watching humans lose to machines. Artists, writers, philosophers, teachers, and regular people started talking about what made human thinking special. They shared stories about creativity, intuition, and emotions. They talked about love, humor, courage, and hope. Could a machine understand those things? Could perfect logic capture everything that mattered about being human? The conversation grew larger. Some people argued that emotions were just chemical reactions that could be simulated. Others insisted that human consciousness was something deeper, something that no machine could ever truly replicate. The debate became passionate, sometimes angry, but always engaged. Jennifer Walsh noticed the change in public interest. She called a meeting with her team. "The competition is supposed to be over," she said. "We've proved that QuantumMind is superior at calculation, memory, logic, and processing speed. But people are still watching. They want to see what happens next." "Why?" One of her lead engineers spoke up. "Because the next challenges are different. They're not just about computing power. They're about judgment and creativity. People want to know if Dr. Park has any chance at all." Jennifer looked thoughtful. She had expected this competition to be a simple demonstration of AI superiority. Instead, it had become something more complicated, something that raised questions she had not anticipated. The next morning, on day 5, the atmosphere in the laboratory was different. More journalists had returned. The cameras were positioned more carefully. Even the technicians seemed more interested than they had been for the previous challenges. Jennifer stood at the front of the room. "Today's challenge tests creative problem solving. We're going to present both competitors with a real-world problem that has no single correct answer. The problem is this: design a solution to reduce traffic congestion in a major city. You have 2 hours to develop your proposal." Minjun felt something shift inside him. This was not about speed or perfect calculation. This was about understanding a problem that involved human behavior, city planning, economics, and social patterns. This was a challenge where being human might actually matter. The clock started. Minjun closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about cities he had lived in, traffic jams he had sat through, the frustration of wasted time, and the pollution filling the air. He thought about why people drove, where they needed to go, what they were trying to accomplish with their daily commutes. Meanwhile, QuantumMind was already working. The technicians monitored its progress as it analyzed traffic patterns from hundreds of cities, studied transportation research from decades of academic papers, and ran millions of simulations to test different approaches. After 90 minutes, QuantumMind finished. Its solution appeared on the screens for everyone to see. The AI had designed an elaborate system of traffic management. It proposed advanced sensors at every intersection, algorithms that would control traffic lights in real time based on current conditions, optimized routing for vehicles using GPS data, and infrastructure changes, including new roads and tunnels placed at mathematically optimal locations. The system included autonomous vehicle integration, dynamic toll pricing to discourage driving during peak hours, and a complete redesign of public transportation routes based on population density and travel patterns. The proposal was stunning in its scope and detail. Every element was backed by data and simulation results. If implemented, it would reduce average commute times by 37% and cut traffic accidents by 42%, according to QuantumMind's models. The journalists looked impressed. Several started typing immediately, preparing stories about the AI's brilliant solution. Then, Minjun stood up. His 2 hours were not over yet, but he was ready. "I have my proposal," he said. Minjun walked to the front of the laboratory and connected his laptop to the main display screen. Everyone in the room leaned forward slightly, curious to see what he had created. After 4 crushing defeats, what could he possibly offer that would compare to QuantumMind's sophisticated traffic management system? His presentation appeared on the screen. It was simple, almost shockingly so compared to the AI's elaborate proposal. There were no complex diagrams, no simulation results, no mathematical models, just a few clear ideas written in plain language. "Traffic congestion is not really a traffic problem," Minjun began. "It's a human behavior problem. We have traffic jams because millions of people need to be in the same places at the same times. So instead of managing the traffic better, what if we changed why the traffic exists in the first place?" He clicked to his first proposal. "Redesign work culture to eliminate rush hour. Most office work doesn't need to happen between 9 and 5. Some companies already let employees choose their own schedules. If we encouraged more businesses to adopt flexible hours, we could spread out commute times throughout the day. No special technology needed. Just a change in thinking." Several people in the room nodded. It was such an obvious idea, but nobody had said it. Minjun continued. "Second, create neighborhood work hubs. Many people drive long distances to offices where they just sit at computers all day. What if every neighborhood had shared office spaces with good internet and meeting rooms? People could work close to home most days and only travel to central offices when necessary. This would reduce commute distances and build stronger local communities. He showed a simple diagram of a neighborhood with a small office building, surrounded by homes, schools, and shops. Third, rethink city design itself. We build cities that force people to travel long distances for basic needs. But traditional neighborhoods had shops, schools, and workplaces all within walking distance. If we gradually redesign our cities to mix residential and commercial areas, people won't need to commute as much at all. Minjun looked around the room. Quantumind's solution manages traffic better, which is valuable. But my solution asks why we accept traffic as inevitable in the first place. It addresses the human choices that create congestion, not just the congestion itself. The room was quiet. Jennifer Walsh stood up slowly and walked to the front. She looked at both proposals on the screen, side by side. The AI's complex traffic management system and the human's simple suggestions for changing behavior and culture. This is unexpected, she said carefully. Dr. Park, your solution would take years to implement, maybe decades. It would require changing laws, convincing businesses, redesigning entire city districts. Quantumind's solution could start working immediately with enough funding. That's true, Minjun agreed. But which one actually solves the problem? Managing traffic better means we still have traffic. Changing why traffic exists in the first place means we might not need all those sensors and algorithms. One of the journalists raised her hand. Ms. Walsh, how will you judge this challenge? The AI's solution is more detailed and data-driven, but Dr. Park's solution addresses deeper issues. Jennifer looked at her team of judges. They were engineers, data scientists, and transportation experts. They held a quiet discussion among themselves for several minutes. Minjun watched their faces, trying to read their thoughts. Some looked skeptical, others thoughtful. A few seemed genuinely intrigued. Finally, Jennifer turned back to the room. This is the first challenge where we cannot unanimously declare a winner. Some judges believe Quantumind's solution is superior because it's more immediately practical and backed by solid data. Others believe Dr. Park's solution shows more creative thinking by questioning the problem itself rather than just addressing symptoms. She paused, choosing her words carefully. We're calling this challenge a draw. The room erupted. Journalists started shouting questions. The technicians looked confused. After 4 absolute victories, Quantumind had not won clearly. It was not a loss for the AI, but it was not a complete win either. And for Minjun, after 4 crushing defeats, it felt like victory. Sayon was smiling so widely her face hurt. She wanted to run down from the observation room and hug her friend, but she stayed where she was, watching everything unfold. Jennifer raised her hand for quiet. We'll reconvene tomorrow for Challenge 6. Thank you all for coming. As people filed out of the laboratory, several journalists approached Min. They wanted interviews, wanted to know how he felt, wanted to understand his strategy, but Jennifer intercepted them politely. Dr. Park needs rest. There will be time for interviews after the competition ends. She led Minjun to a small private office. Once the door closed, she looked at him with genuine curiosity. What changed? She asked. The first 4 days. You seemed to be accepting defeat. Then suddenly you came back with something completely different. What happened? Minjun sat down, feeling exhausted, but also energized. I spent 4 days studying how Quantumind thinks. It's brilliant at optimization, at finding the best path to a defined goal. But it accepts the goal as given. It doesn't question whether we're solving the right problem in the first place. That's what humans do. That machines might not be able to do. We question the question itself. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. You know, we built Quantumind to be perfect, and it is perfect within its parameters. But you're suggesting that perfection might be a limitation. Not a limitation exactly, Minjun said. Just a difference. Your AI is better than me at almost everything. But maybe human thinking and machine thinking are good at different types of problems. That evening, the internet exploded with discussion about the day's challenge. People took sides passionately. Some argued that Quantumind's solution was obviously better because it was detailed and achievable. Others insisted that Minchun's approach showed the kind of wisdom that no amount of computing power could match. The debate went on for hours, spreading across social media, news sites, and even dinner tables around the world. Back at TechCore, Jennifer called an emergency meeting with her lead engineers. "We need to talk about the next challenge," she said. "We designed it to test Quantumind's ability to predict human behavior. But after today, I'm wondering if we should make it more challenging." Her chief engineer looked concerned. "More challenging? Quantumind is already operating at near maximum capacity. If we increase the difficulty, Dr. Park won't have any chance at all." "That's not what concerns me," Jennifer said. "What concerns me is that we might be testing the wrong things. We set out to prove that AI is superior to human intelligence. But Dr. Park is showing us that superiority might not be the right word. It's more like different types of intelligence for different purposes." Another engineer spoke up. "So what do you want to do?" Jennifer thought about it. "Let's keep Challenge 6 as planned." "It's a good test. Quantumind will analyze data and make predictions about how people will respond to a new policy proposal. Dr. Park will make his own predictions. We'll see whose predictions are more accurate when we survey real people." The next morning, Challenge 6 began. The scenario was presented to both competitors. The government wants to implement a new environmental policy that would increase taxes on gasoline but use that money to improve public transportation. How would different groups of people respond to this proposal? Quantumind immediately began processing data. It analyzed voting patterns, economic statistics, demographic information, past policy responses, and thousands of public opinion surveys. It built models of different population groups based on age, income, education, location, and political affiliation. Within minutes, it had comprehensive predictions with confidence intervals and probability distributions. The AI predicted that 63% of urban residents would support the policy, while only 28% of rural residents would approve. It calculated that support would be higher among younger people and those with higher education levels. It identified key factors that influenced opinions, including current gas prices, public transportation availability, and environmental concern levels. Every prediction was backed by statistical analysis and historical comparisons. Meanwhile, Minjun was doing something very different. He closed his eyes and thought about actual people. He imagined a single mother working 2 jobs who depended on her car to get to work because the bus routes did not serve her neighborhood well. He thought about a retired veteran living on a fixed income who would struggle with higher gas prices. He imagined a college student worried about climate change who would support anything that helped the environment. He considered a small business owner who needed to transport goods and would see this policy as another burden on his struggling company. Minjun did not have statistical models or probability calculations. Instead, he had empathy and imagination. He put himself in different people's positions and tried to understand how they would feel, what they would worry about, what would matter most to them. When it was time to present his predictions, Minchun's results looked less precise than Quantumind's. Instead of exact percentages, he described different groups and their likely reactions. Instead of confidence intervals, he told stories about why different people would feel the way they would feel. Working parents in underserved neighborhoods will oppose this strongly, he said. Not because they don't care about the environment, but because they need reliable transportation right now and better buses in the future. Don't help them today. They'll feel like this policy punishes them for problems they didn't create. He continued through different groups, describing not just what they would think, but why they would think it. He identified several communities that Quantumind's models had placed into broad categories, but Minjun saw them as unique groups with specific circumstances. There are immigrant communities in the industrial district who depend on older vehicles because they can't afford new ones, Minjun explained. The data might show them as low-income urban residents who should support better public transportation, but many of them need cars to reach night shifts and weekend jobs that buses don't serve. They'll see this policy as one more thing, making their difficult lives harder. The judges looked interested but skeptical. Quantumind's predictions were backed by data from millions of data points. Minchun's predictions were based on intuition and imagination. How could soft insights compete with hard statistics? Jennifer announced that they would conduct an actual survey. They would present the policy proposal to 2,000 real people representing different demographics across the country. The survey would take a week to complete. The competition would pause until the results came back. During that week, something unexpected happened. News about the competition had spread far beyond technology circles. Teachers showed videos of the challenges to their students. Philosophy professors discussed the nature of intelligence in their classes. Artists and scientists argued about the value of human creativity versus machine precision. The competition had become more than just a test of cognitive abilities. It had become a cultural conversation about what made humans special and what role artificial intelligence should play in society. The week waiting for the survey results felt longer than any week Min-jun had experienced in his life. He tried to go back to his normal routine at the university, teaching classes and working on research, but nothing felt normal anymore. Students recognized him on campus. Some wanted selfies with him. Others wanted to debate about artificial intelligence and what it meant for humanity's future. SIUN met him for lunch at their usual cafe near the university. The place was quiet and comfortable, filled with professors and students drinking coffee and talking about their work. It felt good to be somewhere that had nothing to do with the competition. "How are you holding up?" SIUN asked as she stirred sugar into her tea. Min-jun shrugged. "I don't know. I feel like I'm living in two different worlds. In one world, I'm just a professor who studies how brains work. In the other world, I'm representing all of humanity in some kind of battle against machines. It's strange." "You're doing better than anyone expected," SAON said. "After those first 4 defeats, people wrote you off completely. Now everyone's watching to see what happens next." "That's what worries me," Min-jun admitted. "What if I got lucky with the traffic challenge? What if the survey results prove that Quantumind's predictions were more accurate? Everyone will be disappointed." Seo-jeon reached across the table and put her hand on his. "Min-jun, you've already won something important. You showed that there are questions machines can't answer better than humans just by processing more data. That matters, regardless of what the survey says." But Min-jun could not shake his anxiety. He had made his predictions based on empathy and imagination, trying to understand how real people would feel. Quantumind had made its predictions based on data and statistics, finding patterns in millions of responses to similar situations. The rational part of his brain knew that data usually beat intuition. He might have gotten lucky once, but the odds were not in his favor. The survey results came back 7 days later. Min-jun returned to TechCore headquarters with his stomach in knots. The laboratory was more crowded than ever. Word had spread that this was a crucial test, and everyone wanted to see the outcome. Even people from other departments at TechCore had found reasons to be there. Jennifer Walsh stood at the front of the room, holding a tablet with the results. She looked at Min-jun with an expression he could not quite read. Was it sympathy? Surprise? Respect? He could not tell. "We surveyed 2,000 people across different demographics," Jennifer began. "We presented them with the environmental policy proposal and asked for their opinions. Then we compared their responses to the predictions made by Quantumind and Dr. Park." She pulled up 2 charts on the main screen. One showed Quantumind's predictions. The other showed the actual survey results. Quantumind's statistical predictions were accurate within expected margins of error, Jennifer said. "It correctly predicted that 63% of urban residents would support the policy, and our survey showed 61% support. It predicted 28% rural support, and we found 26%. Across all major demographic categories, Quantumind's predictions matched reality very closely." Min-jun felt his heart sink. Of course, the AI was right. It had processed so much data, built such sophisticated models. How could his intuitive guesses compare? But Jennifer was still talking. "However, Dr. Park identified several specific groups that Quantumind's models missed entirely. Working parents in underserved neighborhoods showed strong opposition, exactly as he predicted. The immigrant community in the industrial district opposed the policy at much higher rates than their demographic profiles suggested they would. Small business owners who transport goods formed a significant opposition group that did not appear in Quantumind's broader business category." She pulled up another screen showing a detailed breakdown. "When we look at the overall accuracy, both predictions were good. But Dr. Park identified important outlier groups that quantum mind statistical models smoothed over. These groups are smaller in absolute numbers, but they have strong feelings and could significantly impact actual policy implementation. In politics and social policy, understanding these passionate minorities is often more important than knowing the general trends. The room was absolutely silent. People were trying to process what this meant. One of the judges, a data scientist from a major university, stood up. Ms. Walsh, are you saying that the human predictions were more valuable, even though the AI predictions were more statistically accurate? Jennifer thought carefully before answering. I'm saying they were valuable in different ways. If you want to know general trends across large populations, quantum mind is extraordinary. But if you want to understand why specific communities feel the way they do, and identify groups that might react strongly even if they're numerical minorities, human empathy and imagination can reveal things that pure data analysis misses. She looked directly at Minjun. Dr. Park Quantum Mind told us what would happen. You told us why it would happen and who would care most deeply. Both types of knowledge are important. A journalist raised her hand. So who wins this challenge? Jennifer smiled slightly. Again, we're calling it a draw. Both competitors provided valuable insights that approached the problem from different angles. This time, the reaction in the room was different. People were not shocked or confused. Instead, they seemed to be realizing something important. The competition was not really about winning and losing anymore. It was becoming an exploration of what different types of intelligence could contribute. After the presentation ended, one of TechCore's senior engineers approached me. His name was David Chun, and he had been one of the lead designers of Quantum Mind. Dr. Park, can I talk to you for a moment? They found a quiet corner away from the crowds. David looked uncomfortable, like he was struggling with something. I need to tell you something, David said. When we designed this competition, we expected Quantum Mind to win every challenge easy. The whole thing was supposed to be a demonstration of AI superiority. We even designed the later challenges to be harder, thinking you might get lucky on one or two of them, and we wanted to make sure the AI's dominance was clear. Minjun nodded. He had suspected as much. David continued. But something strange is happening. Quantum Mind is performing exactly as we designed it to perform. It's doing everything right, everything we programmed it to do. And yet, you're showing us that doing everything right isn't always what matters most. You're revealing limitations we didn't know existed because we were so focused on making the system perfect at optimization and pattern recognition. What kind of limitations? Minjun asked. Quantum Mind can't question its own assumptions, David said slowly, as if realizing this as he spoke. It accepts the problems as defined and finds optimal solutions. But you keep redefining the problems themselves, asking different questions, approaching things from unexpected angles. That's not a flaw in Quantum Mind's design, it's just not what it was built to do. They stood in silence for a moment. Through the glass wall of the laboratory, they could see the black cube of Quantum Mind, its blue lights pulsing steadily. There's one more challenge, David said. Challenge 7, tomorrow. It's going to be the hardest one. What is it? Minjun asked. David shook his head. I can't tell you, but I want you to know that the team and I have been talking. Whatever happens tomorrow, this competition has taught us things we never expected to learn. We thought we were building something to replace human intelligence. Now, we're wondering if we actually built something to complement it instead. That evening, Minjun and Esseon had dinner together at a small restaurant not far from the university. They did not talk about the competition. Instead, they talked about their students, their research, and their lives outside of all the media attention. It felt good to be normal for a few hours, to remember who they were before any of this started. But as they were leaving the restaurant, Seon stopped and looked at her friend seriously. Minjun, whatever happens tomorrow, you've already changed how people think about artificial intelligence and human intelligence. That's worth more than winning or losing. Minjun smiled. Thank you, Seon, for everything! I couldn't have done this without your support. Yes, you could have, she said, but I'm glad you didn't have to. That night, Minjun could not sleep again. But this time, it was not from anxiety. His mind was racing with thoughts about intelligence, consciousness, creativity, and what it meant to be human in a world with machines that could think faster and more accurately than any human brain. He thought about the challenges he had faced. The first four had been pure computation, memory, and logic. Quantumine had crushed him in those areas because that was what computers were designed to do. But the last two challenges had been different. They required understanding human behavior, questioning assumptions, and seeing problems from multiple perspectives. Those were areas where human thinking brought something unique. Tomorrow would be the final challenge. Minjun had no idea what it would involve, but he felt more ready than he had at the beginning. He was not trying to beat the AI at being a computer. He was trying to show what human thinking could do that was different and valuable. The next morning, Minjun arrived at TechCore headquarters early. The building was buzzing with energy. Today was the final challenge, and it felt like the whole world was watching. The laboratory was packed with people. All the major news networks had sent crews. The story had become international news. Jennifer Walsh looked different today, more serious than she had been at any point during the competition. She waited until everyone was settled before speaking. Today is Challenge 7, the final test in our experiment, she began. This challenge is different from everything we've done before. We're going to present both competitors with a crisis scenario that requires immediate response and decision. The scenario is complex, unpredictable, and has no perfect solution. Both Minjun and Quantumind will have to coordinate multiple systems, make difficult choices, and respond to changing conditions. She pulled up a detailed description on the screens. The scenario is this. A major earthquake has struck a coastal city. Infrastructure is damaged, communications are disrupted, and emergency services are overwhelmed. Both competitors must develop a comprehensive response plan that coordinates rescue operations, medical care, resource distribution, and crisis communication. You will have information feeds coming in constantly with updates, and you must adapt your plans in real time. Minjun felt his pulse quicken. This was serious. This was not just an academic exercise. The decisions made in this scenario, if it were real, would affect thousands of lives. You will have 2 hours, Jennifer said. Begin now. The screens in the laboratory came alive with information! Maps of the damaged city appeared, showing collapsed buildings, blocked roads, and areas where power was out. Data streams began flowing in with reports from hospitals, fire stations, and emergency responders. The scenario felt terrifyingly real, even though everyone knew it was a simulation. Quantum Mind activated its full processing capacity. The black cube's blue lights pulsed faster than anyone had seen before. The AI began analyzing everything simultaneously. It calculated optimal routes for emergency vehicles based on road conditions. It prioritized which buildings to evacuate first based on structural damage reports and population density. It created resource allocation schedules that mathematically maximize lives saved per unit of medical supplies and rescue personnel. The technicians, monitoring Quantumind's progress, watched in awe. The AI was processing thousands of variables every second, updating its plans constantly as new information came in. Within 90 seconds, it had created a comprehensive response framework. Meanwhile, Minjun sat quietly at his terminal, reading through the scenario information. But he was not creating spreadsheets or optimization algorithms. Instead, he closed his eyes for a long moment. Sioyen, watching from the observation room, recognized what he was doing. He was imagining. He was imagining himself in that city. Not as a coordinator or manager, but as a person. Scared, confused, maybe hurt. What would he need most? What would help him survive? What would give him hope? After 10 minutes of silence, Minjun began typing. His approach was completely different from Quantum Mind's. The first thing he wrote was not about rescue operations or resource allocation. It was about communication. Immediately establish clear, simple communication to all citizens. Minjun typed, "Tell them what happened, what we know, and what we don't know yet. Tell them we are coming to help. Tell them what they should do right now to stay safe. Use every available channel, radio, loudspeakers, text messages, anything that still works. People need information to fight panic." He continued developing his plan, but it was built around human psychology rather than pure optimization. Priority 1. Rescue operations for trapped people, he wrote. But not just the locations with the most people. Also prioritize sites where survivors can see rescue efforts happening. Visible action reduces panic and gives communities hope. This is not mathematically optimal for maximal lives saved in the first hour, but it's optimal for keeping the whole population stable and cooperative. Minchun's plan included elements that would never appear in a pure optimization algorithm. He specified that rescue workers should stop periodically to reassure people, even if it slightly slowed operations. He recommended positioning medical stations where frightened citizens could easily see them, not just where logistics suggested they should go. He suggested identifying community leaders and empowering them to help organize their neighbors, because people trust familiar faces during crisis. Most important, Minjun wrote, communicate constantly about what is happening and why. Tell people which neighborhoods are being helped now and which will be helped next. Give estimated times, even if rough estimates. Uncertainty and invisibility create desperation. Information creates patience and cooperation. As the 2-hour period progressed, both competitors received updates about changing conditions in the simulation. New buildings were discovered to be unstable. A hospital lost backup power. A major road that seemed clear became blocked by an aftershock. Both had to adapt their plans. Quantum Mind adjusted instantly, recalculating optimal responses to each new input. Its mathematical models absorbed new variables and updated resource allocations in milliseconds. The AI's efficiency was breathtaking. Minjun adapted differently. For each update, he paused to think about how people would react emotionally. When the hospital lost power, he did not just redirect medical resources. He specified that someone should immediately announce this change to the public and explain what was being done about it, so people would not see loved ones being turned away and feel abandoned. When the aftershock blocked the major road, he recommended announcing it before people discovered it themselves, and explaining alternative plans so citizens would feel the leadership was still in control even when unexpected things happened. The 2 hours ended. Both plans appeared side by side on the laboratory's main screens. Quantum Mind's plan was a masterpiece of logistics and optimization. It included detailed schedules showing which rescue teams would go where and when, calculated to save the maximum number of lives based on probability models. It allocated medical supplies precisely according to projected needs. It prioritized infrastructure repair in an order that would restore the most critical systems fast. Every decision was backed by mathematical analysis. The plan was projected to save approximately 3,200 lives in the first 24 hours, with a confidence interval of plus or minus 200 based on various scenarios. Minchun's plan was less precise but more comprehensive in unexpected ways. It included the same basic elements: rescue operations, medical care, resource distribution, but it also included extensive communication strategies, psychological support systems, and community organization approaches. It emphasized visibility, transparency, and human connection throughout the response. His plan did not include a projected number of lives saved because, as he explained, the actual number depends on whether people cooperate, stay calm, and trust the response efforts. Those factors are hard to quantify but critically important. The judges studied both plans carefully. One of them, an emergency management expert who had coordinated real disaster responses, stood up with a thoughtful expression on his face. "This is fascinating," he said. "Quantum Mind's plan is exactly what emergency management textbooks teach us to do. It's optimal, according to established models. But Dr. Park's plan addresses something those textbooks often miss. Disasters are not just logistics problems. They're human crises where psychology matters as much as efficiency." Another judge, a data scientist, disagreed. "But we can measure effectiveness objectively. Quantum Mind's plan is projected to save more lives. Isn't that what matters most? Is it?" The emergency management expert replied. "Those projections assume perfect cooperation from a terrified population. In my experience, the most efficient plan often fails because it doesn't account for human fear, confusion, and the need to feel heard and informed. Sometimes a slightly less efficient plan that keeps people calm and cooperative actually saves more lives than a perfect plan that people don't understand or trust." The debate continued for nearly an hour. The judges were genuinely struggling with this decision because both plans had merit, but they approached the problem from fundamentally different perspectives. Finally, Jennifer Walsh stood up. She had been quiet throughout the judging discussion, but now everyone turned to listen to her. "I think we've been asking the wrong question this entire week," she said. "We've been trying to determine whether human intelligence or artificial intelligence is superior. But these two plans show us something more important. QuantumMind's plan would save more lives in a perfect scenario where everyone follows instructions rationally. Dr. Park's plan would save more lives in reality, where people are emotional, confused, and need more than just instructions." She looked at both competitors, the black cube pulsing with its steady blue lights, and Minjun sitting quietly at his terminal. "QuantumMind can process information faster than we can imagine," Jennifer continued. "It can find optimal solutions in vast data landscapes. It can calculate probabilities and outcomes that would take humans years to work through." But Dr. Park demonstrated something that no amount of processing speed can replicate. He understood context. He understood emotion. He understood meaning in ways that transcend pure computation. One of the journalists raised her hand. "Ms. Walsh, does this mean humans are better than AI after all?" "No," Jennifer said firmly. "That's exactly my point. This isn't about better or worse. This isn't about humans versus machines. This is about understanding that different types of intelligence excel at fundamentally different things. QuantumMind is extraordinary at what it does. Dr. Park is extraordinary at what he does. And what they do is not the same thing." She pulled up a final slide on the screen. "For 7 days, we've been treating this as a competition. But what if that was never the right framework? What if the real insight is that we need both types of intelligence working together?" David Chun, the lead engineer, stood up from his seat among the technicians. "Ms. Walsh, are you saying we should have been building AI to complement human thinking rather than replace it?" "I'm saying we already did," Jennifer replied. "We just didn't realize it until Dr. Park showed us. QuantumMind is not a replacement for human intelligence. It's a tool that can do certain things brilliantly, freeing humans to focus on the things that require judgment, empathy, and understanding of context and meaning." The room was absolutely silent. Everyone was processing this shift in perspective! The competition had started as a demonstration of AI superiority, a proof that machines had surpassed human cognitive abilities. Instead, it had become something completely different. Minjun stood up slowly. His legs felt shaky from sitting still for 2 hours, but he walked to the front of the room. "I came here thinking I would lose," he said quietly, "and in many ways, I did lose. QuantumMind is faster, more accurate, and more capable than me at most cognitive tasks. But I learned something important. The question is not whether I can beat a supercomputer at being a computer. The question is, what can human thinking contribute that machines cannot, even when they're running at 100% speed?" Eseong came down from the observation room and stood beside her friend. She looked at Jennifer and asked the question everyone was thinking. "So, what happens now? How do you officially conclude this experiment?" Jennifer smiled, and for the first time all week, she looked genuinely excited rather than just professionally polite. "We've been documenting everything. The team and I are going to publish papers about what we learned. But more than that, this competition has started a global conversation about intelligence, consciousness, and the future of human-AI collaboration. That conversation is more valuable than any final score." She turned to address the cameras directly. "For 7 days, the world watched as Dr. Minjun Park competed against QuantumMind, our advanced artificial intelligence system. QuantumMind demonstrated processing power and analytical capability beyond anything humans can match. Dr. Park demonstrated creativity, empathy, and contextual understanding that revealed the unique value of human cognition. Neither proved superior to the other because they're not playing the same game. They're playing different games, both of which matter." The journalists erupted with questions, but Jennifer held up her hand. "We'll have a full press conference tomorrow. Right now, I think Dr. Park has earned some rest." As the crowd began to disperse, people approached Minjun from all directions. Scientists wanted to discuss his methodology. Journalists wanted interviews. Even some of the tech core engineers wanted to shake his hand and thank him for teaching them something about the technology they had built. But Minjun was looking at the black cube of quantum mind, still pulsing with its steady blue lights. He walked over to it and placed his hand on its surface. It was warm from all the processing it had been doing. David Chun came to stand beside him. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking this is an amazing creation," Minjun said honestly. "You built something that can think faster and more accurately than any human. That's extraordinary." "But it's not human thinking, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to do what it does brilliantly, and we need to do what we do. And together we might achieve things neither could do alone." David nodded slowly. "You know what's funny? We spent 3 years building quantum minds, and we thought we understood intelligence. Then you came along and showed us we were only understanding one type of intelligence. There is another type, the human type, that works differently but matters just as much." Later that evening, after all the excitement had died down, Minjun and Esion sat in their favorite cafe once again. They were exhausted but also energized by everything that had happened. "You did something unbelievable," Sayan said, echoing the title that had started this whole journey. The AI ran at 100% speed mode, processing faster than anyone thought possible. "But your brain did something it couldn't do, something that no amount of speed can replace." Minjun smiled tiredly. "I just asked different questions. I just thought about problems from a human perspective. That's all. That's everything," Sayan corrected him. "That's what makes us human, and that's what we can never let machines take away from us, no matter how fast or smart they become." The story of the competition spread around the world. It was discussed in schools and universities, in corporate boardrooms and government offices. The conversation shifted from fear about AI replacing humans to excitement about how humans and AI could work together, each contributing their unique strengths. TechCore changed direction after the experiment. Instead of marketing quantum mind as a replacement for human intelligence, they began developing applications where the AI could handle rapid data processing and optimization while humans provided judgment, creativity, and contextual understanding. The partnership between human and machine intelligence became their new focus. Minjun returned to his normal life at the university, but nothing was quite the same. His classes were more popular than ever, and his research gained new funding. But more importantly, he had learned something about himself and about what it meant to be human in an age of artificial intelligence. On a quiet afternoon, a few months after the competition, a package arrived at Minchun's office. Inside was a small crystal sculpture, abstract and beautiful, catching light in unexpected ways. The note attached was from Jennifer Walsh. "Thank you for teaching us that speed is not the same as wisdom, and that processing power is not the same as understanding. You helped us build better technology by showing us what human thinking contributes that machines never can. The future belongs to both types of intelligence working together." Minjun placed the sculpture on his desk where he could see it every day. It reminded him of an important truth. Humans had created artificial intelligence, and it was extraordinary. But humans themselves were extraordinary too, in completely different ways. And in a world where machines could process information at 100% speed, the slow, imperfect, emotional, creative, empathetic human brain could still do something unbelievable. It could understand what mattered and why.